Because you're magic people to me. You're magic people to me. Hold your head up high, let your voices fly. I'm proud to be Maori.
How good is that, bro?
How good, Maori.
He's the man, eh?
Fucking the man.
He brought that back to life, bro. He brought it back to life. All right, te whānau, welcome back to the podcast. We've got the brother Hohepa. Many people may know him as Hori, the Hori. And we're just going to jump into some kōrero today and may go in many directions, but just grateful that you're here with us today. And before we get into today's episode, I actually just want to do a major shout out to the first sponsors of the Planting Seeds podcast, which is Be Humble Skin.
Yes, Be Humble.
Be Humble Skin, the sisters from Porirua. And I've been using this for at least 3 years, for the last 3 years.
The watermelon is brilliant.
How good is it, eh, bro?
It smells
watermelon,
delightful.
It's just butter. They've also got the kawa balms. And I've been using this for my skin and haven't used anything else. So very grateful that the sisters have come on here to share their product. And if you want to get your hands on some of this, it's all natural, comes in these beautiful jars. Check out the link in the description and you'll be able to even get a discount using my discount code, which is Rānira20. So big shout out.
Shots.
Brother, welcome, my bro.
Bro, made it.
Bro, I'm stoked that we just had some time to just to catch up before this and share some kai, and you had a variety of the different foods from Tupu Anuku, bro. And what do you reckon? What's some honest feedback, bro?
I'm gonna be completely honest. I was a little like, oh yeah, let's see how this goes, because I'm fucking very much a carnivore. But it was fucking so good. I think the cauliflower taco was the best one.
Was it the standout for you, eh?
It was the standout. It was the first I went for too.
Yeah, it was. I thought that was a good choice, bro.
And then it'll be slowly followed by the fruit.
The jackfruit.
Jackfruit.
Nice.
The zestiness of that fruit was...
Yeah. And how are you feeling? It was a filling meal, eh? But
I'm
like,
stuffed.
do you feel heavy though? Is it a different full or...
No, I'm full.
Yeah, that's good.
I ate like 4 fucking tacos. Yeah, that was so good. And then I saw there's pudding over there too. So.
We'll get into that, bro.
Oh.
We'll earn the treats.
Yeah, we've got to get those treats first.
So, brother, welcome. And you're from Otaki. You're here in Whakatane and you're here with our tamiiti. Talk a little bit about, like why you're here, bro, and the reason of you coming to connect with Tami.
Yeah. Well, kia ora whānau. I'm living in Otaki. Kind of grew up in te rohe pōtai o Ngāti Raukawa, Ngāti Tōrangatira me Te Aotearoa. So yeah, grew up there and I'm an artist. Mm-hmm. But yeah, for the last few years been working quite close with Tami on different kind of art projects. So I kind of come up here just to get away from things and to get away from Otaki. It's a lot slower here and nicer, and yeah, just spent the last 3 days painting with the old boy. Mm-hmm. And hanging out with Ati, and I was on the top of a roof today, doing some roof on Tami's house. Bro, I just love it up here, eh? Just gives me a bit of time to kind of chill, get some mahi done, kind of have yarns. And then, yeah.
Just reground, eh?
Yeah, hard out. Had a crazy kind of couple months of mahi and different kaupapa that we've been addressing. So, I was like, after that done, I was like, I'm up to Whakatane, Ruatoki ways to just chill out. Yeah.
I think, even just thinking about that, and, you have been a part of some pretty disruptive conversations, I suppose, in the last couple months where, it's really surrounding, racism, te ao Māori, and things that you're experiencing just in your line of mahi. And being an artist, and, you have a beautiful way of being able to express yourself in that way. And when you think about being an artist it's ultimately a way of voicing, you know, your feelings and things that are going on, would you say?
I take it. Yeah, I'm lucky that I have a kind of a visual outlet, or like, you know, I can put that out on paper or on a wall or something like that. But yeah, it is quite healing, I suppose. Get the editor out because there's some pretty angry moments there. But it's a good way for me anyway, and for for the kaupapa that we were, you know, te kaikiritanga or racism we were kind of approaching with this one. It's just been seen quite a bit. I mean, due to phones, and you're seeing a lot of this happening lately. And yeah, this is just one type of that happened to me, and just kind of approached it from a kind of humorous, childish kind of way.
Yeah.
To kind of take the piss out of the tangata kaikiri. So yeah, it's kind of to have a bit of a dig at them. But to also kind of give more education to people who may be, you know, on that zone of saying things that might not be kind of correct to say.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And I think it's an awesome medium that you're using because, like you said, it is visual.
Yeah.
And it's more appealing because sometimes having a conversation is just a bit hard for some people,
Niggly.
you know, but when you can speak to what this image represents or this piece of art represents, it actually becomes a lot more easier to the ear, I suppose, because there's already interest. Isn't it?
It's that whole like kind of corridor of, you know, what is it, like a picture tells 1,000 words. So if someone can look at something and be like, what's that? What is that? What are you doing there? And you're like, wow, this is my whakaaro. Pāna ki tēnei mea, te mea. And it's been mean for our studio and our gallery. People come in there and they see some of the pieces that might be on other issues that are all like quite confronting kind of images, polarizing pieces, some of them. Yeah. And others are just taking the piss and just hilarious because our world and our Māori people are just so fucking hilarious to me. So yeah, there's that real kind of tongue-in-cheek kind of kata, you know, side of it, but then there's also the quite serious, like,
depth of meaning in it.
Yeah, and it's a hard thing to do with the artwork, but yeah, kind of, I don't know, kind of making it click a bit better lately. Yeah,
it's been definitely I guess a lot more people, well, even myself, I'll speak for myself, you know, I've definitely become more aware of it, you know, in recent times of just some of the artwork that you have been doing and the way you've been communicating and voicing it. I'm like, wow, you know, haven't seen it in that way, but, you know, I really resonate with what it is that you are saying. And when I think about the type of work that you're doing, an artist comes to mind, and, you know, this isn't to be whakahihi or anything like that. You know, I think of Banksy.
Oh, yeah,
you know, and how he thinks of all
the
of
Bristol Bandit.
Yeah, how he thinks of all these different issues, but uses art to just to be able to sort of like, you know, communicate it in a different way. You know?
Oh, he's pretty massive for me. I mean, yeah, kind of, you know, I was that little rat bag tagging shit up back in the day. But yeah, you know, especially after living over in London and being there and being down the Bristol or Camden Town and seeing the old Banksies, and, you know, yeah, definitely, there's definitely some influence from him. But, yeah, no, our Māori artists as well, like, Tami for one, it's massive for me. Hōtere, yeah, Shane Cotton, like, you know, these kind of guys, massive for me. Hōtere especially.
Wow.
You know, kind of in their own ways went against the grain. And, you know, Tami especially, fucking right against the grain.
Yeah.
And just different way of thinking, like, and that's in their whakaaro, especially Māori, was so in their mātauranga around like how they thought things were should be, or if tikanga needed to be switched, or me whakawhiti te kaua, or let's change that up because the world's changing, and the way they approached it, whether it was a show or showing people what they did, or and getting like real into someone, it's just and in a humorous way as well. Some of the things that when we're talking to Tami about what he did, it's just fucking hilarious. Like a court session he went into, he took a ladder into it, put the ladder on the ground because the people that were in
were higher,
and he climbed the ladder so he could see them eye to eye. Kanohi te kanohi, and I love that. I was like, some fucking dude just rolled in with a ladder just to fucking...
That's hard to use.
And that's just like, that's just so smart and intelligent, the way he kind of can get his point across. And like, Banksy and all those artists that are in those zones, it's a hard thing to do sometimes, especially with humour, because some people can think, fuck, that's not funny, bro.
Yeah, that's too far.
Fuck, you kind of crossed the line on that one. And yeah, I'm a bit more careful now. But sometimes it's just fucking funny. And yeah, I don't take myself too seriously, but yeah, sometimes serious shit happens. But it's interesting little journey.
And talk about your art journey, bro. Like, how did it? Have you always been artistic in a way, from a young age, or is it something that you grew into?
Nah, I've always been a little hautatu with everything. Always kind of definitely was that drawing kid at school, and different kind of art competitions or anything like that. I'd always try and enter, and and then I kind of fell into this world of fashion, a few years back, and where people wanted to have my pieces on their clothing, and that's how it all kind of like started for me. And then that world kind of didn't suit where I was,
right? So
I kind of pulled out. It wasn't really my thing. I loved it, like fashion design, and the people that we got to work with were awesome, but there were also kind of some really fucking dickheads that were in that world, and I didn't really like that. So I was like, this ain't me, bro. I'm fucking not that.
I'm gonna disengage from this.
Yeah,
and pull it back.
I did. I pulled it right back, and lucky for me, my partner is like fashion's her jam, like that's her thing. So I was able to go back to just doing the art mahi, which is I love. And yeah, she does all of the clothing and all of that stuff, which has been epic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And when you think in your name, bro, the Hori, like how did that come about? Has that always been like your tag, or where was the birth of that? Where did that come from?
He kupu kino. It's a timatanga. Yeah, it was a word that I fucking hated. I kind of got it nicknamed, like my name was Hohepa, and went to a kura that was quite a Pākehā. I was one of 3 boarders in my form that were Māori.
Wow.
Yeah, only one that could speak Aotearoa and had that, grew up around marae and kind of had our tikanga in there, and the other 2 didn't. So yeah, having a name Hohepa and at that kura, and I fucking knocked my teeth out and fucking just got named Hori. And yeah, so the next few years was fucking, I hated that name so much. because I was like, fuck, I'm never going to get laid being called Hori. I was like, it was such a derogatory term. Like, I was like, fucking no one's, you hate that. So, yeah, fuck. So I pretty much just put all my kind of, all of my Māori tanga just kind of put to the side, and was like, it was easier for me just to roll with the homies and not be that Māori kid, which was, when I think about it now, it was a bit traumatic, really. It was fucking shit. And yeah, like I've said, to other people, it's like this, now using that Hori, that kupu Hori, is kind of reclaiming that name. And because, I've been called Hori for most of my life now. Right. And it is my right to be like, nah, fuck it. I am Hori and I am Hori. Either way, I'll take that kupu and I'll do more positive, but real challenging mahi with it. Because it is a challenging name for people to, oh, fuck, do I call you Hori or am I supposed to call you Hori? And I was like, bro, you can call me Eroa. Yeah. Go for it, whatever. And so it is a challenging...
Because your relationship with it has changed,
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily matter for you.
No, it doesn't. And because, I've kind of accepted it from someone who hated being called it for so long, and then to go into the streets and sign my name under my artworks, and all my artworks now have Hori written under it, which is why the R is kind of backwards. It's to kind of spin, take that spin, but also because I loved Korn, the band Korn. Yeah. And they had the R backwards. I was like, fuck yeah.
That's me.
Yeah. So I was like, fucking yeah. Borg. No. But so it was that was the whole kind of fuck you, I'm gonna take this and just go for it with this ingoa. Yeah. It's not my ingoa tuturu, but
I reckon that's cool, bro.
Yeah.
It's quite common for people, I suppose, to turn, I guess, what has been, I guess, like what you said, a traumatic sort of time.
Yeah.
Or something that was quite challenging.
Yeah.
And it's quite common for people to see the beauty in it, atonawa. Later down the track, you sort of like realize, like, oh, that challenge is actually the thing that's made me.
Bro, it's crazy. I was actually back at that school last weekend. I played an old boys rugby game on the Wednesday, and then on the Saturday went back to this kura, and through the weddle at the kura I designed all the awards for it.
Wow.
So we've got sirs and prime ministers and Bill English and all these guys that were getting these awards. And at the timatanga, the thing I said, said my mihi, and I said, kina tangata, kei roto i tēnā ruma, he mōhio ana tuku kōrero, whiua mai tō ringa, and there were only 2 people out of 200 people in the room, they put their hand up. And I was just like, well, these are the only 2 people. And I said to them, I'll come back to you guys later. And I said to them, like, that's what it felt like for me to be at this school, is that there were only 2 people in this room that understood what I was saying. And that you need to be better. I loved my time at that kura, but it was also a fucking negative space for Māori, any kind of minority kind of group to be from. And I hope that you've changed your ways. And bro, it was interesting, bro, going back there.
But to also see the things that haven't necessarily changed, right?
Nah, you definitely...
That would have been a bit of whoa.
Nah, there was definitely that hinter of things. So there was a really lovely guy, famous filmmaker, Vincent Ward, that was there, and he got one of the awards. It's interesting what you're saying, because he always, grew up wanting to play rugby, and same as me, but he told a story of how he slipped in the showers and hit his head, and they said, you can't play rugby anymore. This is not going to be your thing. And then he got into art and film, and so the same kind of thing happened. And it's quite interesting. I did the same, like smashed my teeth out, got named Hori. this guy smashed his head in, couldn't play rugby, and then now he's this, national kind of iconic director. Did the River Queen and all these like amazing, short films and films around the country, and it came because he went to that school and
that happened.
And that happened. So kind of pivoted at such a young age. I was like, fuck, that's a mean story. I was like, that's a movie in itself, bro. I was like, wow, that's so cool.
But I reckon that's just incredible to even think that, for people out there who just go through these, life-altering, I suppose, events, whether you get injured or something happens and you hear stories, like you or the film director.
Yeah.
There's always just so much hope, eh? There's just so much within these sort of like circumstances to see, hopefully a better day.
I know. Yeah. And there are those real, I knocked a tooth out. That's no fucking biggie. There's people that, go through some horrible, horrible, horrible stuff. And, that mana and that just, how am I going
to not give up, eh?
Nah, and just to go hard. Like,
that's inspiring, eh, bro?
Fucking, and I'm pretty privileged compared to some people. I know that. I'm just like, fuck. I didn't really have a hard like growing up. We weren't like rich or anything, but single mum that raised 3 boys. Yeah. So it's quite common. We were bones of us. We weren't. But yes, some people's circumstances. Guys that we went to school that came from Africa that were on the run for 3 months, running for their fucking lives, and finally got let into New Zealand, and then they were finally let into schools, and then these guys that were at our school, and they had guns in their faces and like fucking just kids, and they had been some shit, man, and you just could not fuck with them, eh? They were just like, yeah.
You just can't even also comprehend it as well, eh?
Nah.
It's like, what?
Nah. When I look back, they were from Sudan, and I look back at them, they'd been through some fucking crazy stuff, eh? A couple of them had been shot, kids. And then they finally, got back and they got out and came back to New Zealand, and now they're running businesses and, they're just doing so well, and you're like, fucking hell. How cool was that?
That's so freaking cool, bro.
And they're just like, I fucking look up to those guys. It's like they went through some serious shit and still came out, good.
They came out good.
Yeah, bro. Oh, fuck.
Bro, and when you think about, being a young fella, being a youngster, and, you said you're a bit of a rat bag.
Yeah.
What sort of got you... What was it about you that made you sort of like become a rat bag, bro? Were you just bored? Was there just, what were you up to at that stage of your life?
Well, we moved to Te Awaho, Foxton, which is probably one of the biggest kind of gang towns in New Zealand at that time in the 90s. And yeah, so didn't have a dad, like, was pretty loose. Mum was raising 3 boys.
Are you the oldest?
No, I'm the second oldest. So, and the older brother was, we went to a Aotearoa at one of the local schools, me and my brother, and the other one went to a Catholic college in Palmerston North. So he never he wasn't really in the Foxton scene. But yeah, I just got into some shit, was, hanging out in stolen cars and stealing shit and just doing all the shit things that I shouldn't have been doing. And I'm really young, I'm only like 11, 10, and, just being around things like drugs and, knowing what it was, and not like it was a bad thing, but, there was uncles and aunties and, uncles that, you knew they all sold it and, and they were the local, I remember going to a going away party for my uncle, and it was a going away party. Later Boltson's like, where's Uncle Barry going? She's just gone. He'll be back soon. But, lovely whānau that we were kind of raised with. But there were some, skullduggery like kind of things going on around the place. And when my mum met her, my stepdad, they moved to a farm out. So I had a real big environmental change.
Yeah.
It got me the fuck out of there, which even till today I think, Mum, I was just like, fuck, if I stayed in that zone, like my mates were my mates.
Yeah.
And, back then you didn't have phones, you couldn't get back to them. So it was just like, later bolts, bye. And I was like, never saw them really again.
Yeah.
So it was massive for me, put on a farm.
Wow.
Only shit you can get into is at the creek.
Yeah.
and shit. Yeah. Chucking shit at your brothers.
And where was the farm? Was it in?
Between Hanana and Taituko, so like Levin and Shannon.
Yeah.
Yeah, just out on the back roads there. So we kind of moved there, and then I went to boarding school in Wellington. Yeah, just followed all my uncles and my koro and my granddad and that. They all went down to this one school for rugby.
Yeah.
It was a big rugby school down in Wellington, so that was my big thing to go down there and play first 15 rugby.
Did you make it into the first 15?
Yeah.
What was your position?
I was wow. Now I can start. I was a fullback back then.
True.
Yeah. I'm slowly like moving my way. Now I'm at second five, and actually for the last 2 years been playing flanker. I think I'll finish
making your way to their front row, bro.
Their front row and a tight head. Just put a couple more kgs on. Eat a few more of those buns.
That's right, bro. And now when you think about your art journey, bro, and has there been a moment where just things like off camera you've just been talking about the exponential growth of things, and was there a time or piece of artwork that just really just opened things up for you, where you're just like, all right, this is where I need to be?
Yeah, I think it's one of the first pieces that I did was actually on tummy. Yeah, it was one of the ones it didn't catapult, but it was probably one of the pieces that I realised the power of like a visual output and media and the way media works. And Tummy's the best at them. Like, he's so fucking smart in terms of the way he can use the media to get his whakaaro across. So yeah, this piece was done on the terror raids, and it looked at terrorism and the way the media perceived Tummy to the audience of New Zealand, because they kind of like labelled him our New Zealand terrorist, which is completely false. So it was a merge of Osama bin Laden and Tummy, and then kind of put together. And in the bottom it had too far, too much, too hoi, which is like too far. Did the courts go too far? Did the police go too far? Yes. And too much, did he get too much time? He shouldn't have really had any time. I think they pinned a firearms charge on him, but they were going for gold. They wanted to get terrorist charges put on him.
Wow.
Yeah, they had nothing to stand on, and so to kind of get them out, they kind of just chucked a firearms charge in there. So yeah, he served 9 months of a 2.5 year thing for nothing. There was no reason why he should have even been there. But the way the media played it was, yes, we've got this fucking terrorist. He's fucking dangerous. And it was just like, it was interesting to see how it worked. And I was just like, fuck, that's interesting. Like, and I did my degree in digital media.
Wow.
So the way, how you'll edit a video or you edit the way someone sounds, or it's very easy to manipulate and have a biased kind of opinion on something and get someone to follow that because of the way you do something. And the news are better than anyone at doing that.
Yeah.
And everyone was like gospel, like news was news. You listen to the news because it's right. And I was like, actually, it's like bullshit. So, and that's the whole kind of kōrero that we're doing at the moment, is kind of at mainstream media, mainstream education, mainstream politics, is to kind of challenge them and go into their zones and actually challenge them on their own doorstep.
And how would you challenge them? Like, what would be a challenge? Like, how do you challenge them?
So to kind of throw the wero like visually is and more like to kōrero with them, is to give them a more understanding around te ao Māori and the way we think and the why we do things the way we do. Because a lot of these different kind of mainstream spaces, they say, or they might say that they are, it's coming from a more tokenistic space. It's not coming from an authentic place. Like we're trying to do this, and it's like, well, try harder.
Yeah.
But also here's some manaakitanga, and here's some like, this is why what you're saying may affect us in this way, because you don't know how our world kind of works.
Right.
And our worlds sit side by side and they're intermerged, and to give them more of a lens to see that world. And so that's in the new kind of exhibition that we're trying to do, We Are the Mainstream, is to kind of throw that wero is to kind of like, we are the mainstream. So, ko mātou kia te auraki, we are the awa, we are the roto, we are the moana, it's our toto, the whenua, like, that's the land and the rivers are our blood. And we are the mainstream, like that's how we see ourselves. Wow. We are the actual mainstream. And then we let you play in our streams, but you're just remember, we are the mainstream. So like that's the whole kind of whakaaro around it. And it is a bit of a kind of like, not a fuck you, it's more just like, just remember, like, we're not trying to censor what you're saying or visually what you're showing, but just remember that this world is actually here. It's not, you might not be able to see it, but
don't feel like it's non-existent.
It's non-existent. It's there. And if you say stuff and in this world, people are going to find out and people are going to get fucked off. And but if they have more education around that, around what would happen, it's better for both Pākehā and Māori. Yeah. Because if it's like, and if it's done in an authentic way, and through a multi kind of cultural lens where everyone can see the same, through your mōwhiti. I always see, because we were talking the other day about the Matrix and Morpheus, but I was like, mōwhiti with his mōwhiti. Yeah. And I was like, fuck, that'll be mean, eh? You're like, hello, Neo, kia ora, mōwhiti. Just have our own Māori mōwhiti.
You should do a piece around the red or the blue pill, bro, when you go to the mainstream, because they just want to sort of like see it in their way. Yeah. And I like how you sort of like say how we are the mainstream. And I think thinking about it, like they have the idea that they are, when really it's like, nā tangata whenua have that actual direct connection, eh? And it's quite a, how do you, you're already doing it, but it is quite challenging, right, to have these kinds of conversations with the far right, who have just this, they've already decided on the way that they want to view the world. And it's just, how do you penetrate that? Is it just continuing to show up, or is it trying to find different ways to communicate it? Like, You know, what are some of the things that come up for you? Are you trying to target those people? Or is it...
Nā rangatira.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're carrying on the whakaaro of their tupuna that colonised our tupuna, and that, you know, and this is passed down for a generation. And now these same, you know, leaders are doing it today, and they're still in positions of power. So if we don't push back on these people and we don't call them out and we don't, what happens to fucking, you know, Judith's kids and these people's kids that then, you know, go down this whole kind of whakaaro that this is the way, because this is, you know, how everything got passed down. And, you know, we know whakapapa better than anyone. We understand that thing, and that whakapapa is ingrained in them as well.
Right.
So it's a hard thing to get out of these people. But yeah, like you said, constantly showing up, constantly pushing back. And yeah, we talked with Raori and Deb the other day about that things might get a little worse before it gets better.
Right.
You know, and there is this, I can feel it, like this fundamental shift that has happened. And I've been doing this mahi for 10 years, and really in the last kind of 3 years, I've really seen it and feel this fucking pivot twist. And now, especially with Raori and Deb that are in there, I can only see it like going.
I feel that too.
And it's mean, like, you know, people like yourself and all the artists and people that are and Māori all together in their own, like, that are all kind of, fuck, yeah.
There's
you know?
more pushback, eh?
Yeah, it's like, fuck, yes, that's right. Like, yeah, no, I'm going to, yeah, fuck, I'm going to do that. And it's awesome. I fucking love it. I do, man. I
like the collaborative nature of it as well. You know, like how I've connected with Raori, you have, and we all have these different pockets of people in their own right are contributing to that message.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, you've done that beautiful piece for Raori, right? You know, how he wasn't able to wear the tie. Yeah. And you presented that to him. And how did that go down for you guys, bro? How was that, you know, being able to create that piece for that moment?
Oh, it was just like, it was cool. Like, we went into to Parliament, which is, you know, for me is, you know, again, I'm doing this thing with mainstream media to get in. That's only one part of this whole. Right. It's like getting into mainstream politics would be. So this is the start of that, to kind of, you know, infiltrate. No, but yeah, there's a bug there. But yeah, get in there and but it was just ridiculous, that whole kōrero. You know, and for someone who, you know, I wear tiki every day, and it's always here. And whether it's on show, it's next to my, you know, manawa. And to see, and to going to a college that, you know, every day I did my tie. I went to kura. Every day I still smash a tie out. And to see that whole kōrero happen was, again, real childish. And I was like, fuck, you guys have got better shit to talk about than fucking Mufti Day or what it, like, he looks great. Like, really, the fucking root of this problem is just blatant racism. It's just like, fuck. And, you know, the other day they had a national leader wearing a fucking, you know, a cow's thing with their thing. Like, she'd been at the, and I was like, there's no fucking difference.
There's no difference there.
But you allowed her to sit in there. You didn't kick her out. Oh, yeah, but her kaupapa is like, what? What's her kaupapa? Fuck. Like, it's that, and that's the way Māori have been treated for too long. Yeah. It's like, we'll kick him out. Oh, no, you say, you're all good. And that's what it's like. And that's why Māori are like, nah, it's not all good. Fuck you. So it's, yeah, and I love that pushback. I'm like, I'm all for it, eh? If it's going to make them realise, fuck, yeah, you know?
Need to change it up.
Yeah, that piece was cool. And it was just funny.
Yeah.
It's just cool.
He's just the man, that fella.
Bro,
And they both of them, man, they just straight killers.
bro, I don't know how to do it, It's just, fuck.
Because he's still holding himself so well and still so humorous and just so witty,
Yeah.
and just really good. So, it's really, we're so grateful, to have, Rauri and Deb just in Parliament now.
Bro, and there's the others. There's like Kiritapu,
Yep.
and there's all those others that are there, and they're like, yep, they're kind of in their kind of separate little, karapu, but they're all there, and you can tell that I feel that there is this kind of bond, but it might take a while for it to kind of congeal.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good to see, our people in these spaces, and actually pushing for our people, because fuck it, it's
been going
needed.
on too long,
It is, bro. And now with our population, especially Māori population growing, and
those stats are probably going to remain the same if things don't change.
Yeah, well, fuck, it's interesting times, bros.
Interesting, bro. One of the things when you sort of like talk about humorous and like just being like super childish, I cracked up when you're putting rapi on your rubbish outside, and someone just kept taking it off.
Oh yeah,
like that made me laugh because of just like how you said, just the child like behavior that occurred there.
Yeah,
and you want to talk about that, bro?
No. Oh yeah, the Rapihi saga is just fucking hilarious.
Is it still going, bro? Nah.
It's
council have stepped in, eh?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. The funny thing that no one really realises is they kind of were all hoha at me for painting the tino rangatiratanga, up the top of our ceiling, but they don't realise that I actually got paid by our landlords to do that. They paid for all the paint, they paid me to do it, and they're just like they even went as far as going down the road to another mural that I did on another building that belonged to their landlords that paid me to do it and paid for the paint and was he allowed to come and do that? Did he have permission to do that? And they're like, I'm not sure. He just came here and yeah. So it's just the meddling that was happening, like it was all because like he can't just put all his Mary stuff up and that's what it was.
Wow.
And it was just like, who meddles that much? And it was this I don't know, it's been labelled this Karenism or this karana. But yeah, it was just fucking weird, bro. It even went to the point where I saw scratches and like real like intent to get it off, eh?
Yeah.
And then when the council came and took the bin away, that was just like, you couldn't write this shit, hey, for me, for someone who's like, oh, you fucking idiots, like you're just lining me up with ammo of. Now the council are involved and they're going to take it. Like, it's so childish me talking about this now, but in the end of the day, the council gave us, we made about $10,000 now for our whole initiative, Ture Otaki. So, we've got all of this printing stuff's ready to go, and so there's a whole lot more than just stickers to come out. And, there's a Aotearoa kind of kaupapa that are like really into it, and like the council have like come in, and so it's really like now
given for more fuel.
Oh yeah, it's just like you guys, and we've got all of these people that are really genuinely wanting to do it. More shops that want to help integrate more te reo within their store, not only with signage, but like, we hold hui and teach them just the most simplest kia ora and ka kite. Like, it's easy.
Right.
Next hui we learn kia pai tō rā. Just real bite-sized pieces. That's all we wanted. It wasn't wasn't like a new idea, or other towns do it as well. We just wanted it done. We've been talking about it for too long, and we're like, fuck it, let's just do it. And me and my bro were like, fuck it, let's just do it. All right, sweet. Rapi, all up down the street, all on the ramas, like on the lights, put it down, all down there. And it's just crazy how much traction, like in terms, whether it was positive or negative from, how
just from doing something
like that.
Wow.
There's been a few things we've done in the past that are, so easy, but have gained kind of thing because we just, instead of being in a position where we like have to go through the right, I have to ask them. I love that saying of you ask a question, you get an answer, or you just do it. And
tapping into that inner hautetutanga, bro?
Yeah, tērā te whakapapa o Māori. But if you just do it and have some awareness around
the consequences,
what may happen. Like when we did this big P awareness thing, when we crossed out all the P's, me and the bro didn't have an idea what he was doing, and I said, meet me at my place. I need a ladder and a truck. And he was like, oh yeah, sweet. So it took us 7 hours from from our place all the way down to Poneke, and we crossed out all the P's.
Really, bro?
Every single P. We had one rule. If we saw a P, we had to take it out. And the whakaaro around it was to take methamphetamine or P out of the towns.
Wow.
So that was our whole kind of whakaaro, and it was just electric tape. We taped it over. And the first time we got pulled up by the cops, I was like, oh, fuck, yeah, sweet. And then when we got down to Poneke, and we're like, all right, we've done enough. We did so many, like every sign you could possibly think. And then by the time we got home, the cops showed up at our house. I was like, oh, fuck, yeah, I think this might
go down here.
Might ruffle a bit of feathers. But yeah, from that whole thing, it hit like national kind of news, and we were able to work with this other team or this organisation called NZP Pool, and they're all about kind of rehabilitation and helping whānau and helping people with rehab with this drug. So it was it came from a place of I had cousins that kind of hooked on and did some crazy stuff, and ended up lifer in jail. That was one of the kind of things for me to like, fuck, this is actually quite hit home, and it was whānau kind of reasons. I was like, fuck, how do we do a creative way to get people more involved in this conversation? And that's what we did. And then at the end of it, we actually ended up raising quite a bit of money for this group, so they could open another rehab place. And it was cool because we got the awareness out there first, and then we hit them with education. So they were educated about how, and it wasn't from the people that you thought would educate you.
Wow.
It was from the fucking gang members that have been in that zone. So we had rogue mob members from Aotearoa come in and kōrero to us the way it works, and without going into detail about it, but this is how it's done, this is how easy it is, and now they don't have to cook or do anything. It's all brought in. It's all and their whakaaro is to try and get it out of the gangs. And this is the whole kōrero that's going on now with Judith and those whole people thinking that this millions of dollars have gone to gangs. It's not. It's actually it's going to help these people get the fuck out of this zone that's killing whānau, just killing whakapapa, like taking kids away from families that growing up with kuia and koro, and I've seen it firsthand. Like it's a fucking prick of a thing. But yeah, that was another cool, well, not cool, but another meaningful thing to do. It was good for, like, it was a rough month. It's hearty as, like, kaupapa to do it on, because we did it from a place like we're just going to go straight head on with this. No bullshit, and I love that. Just let's get it from the fucking right from the horse's mouth. How does it work? Why do they get so addicted? Like, you know. Then we ended up the drug, like the head drug guy, you know, of the drug foundation, talking to us about it. What do we need? You know, so it's
wow, so much to take in, bro, and the education that these guys have around it, and you're just like, it's mind blowing. You're like, holy shit! It's like it's a $1 billion industry. That is, it's crazy. Damn, bro. Damn. Been some beautiful kōrero today, bro, and I think there's you know, one question that I feel I want to ask, you know, before we do wrap up, and it's just, how do you deal with racism? You know, like, you're someone who's very vocal about it. You probably get comments all the time, or you observe all of these little digs that, you know, like, how do you deal with it, bro?
Bro, from again a place like at the start, you know, it's since this, you know, I am more, you know, there's probably 2 or 3 occasions that it's happened, you know, before a rugby game. One of the bros, you know, Pākewhalo, fucking lovely guy, amazing. You know, came in, it's like, fuck, you really take on these big black boongers, like these big black pollies? And I was like, nah, but I am keen to take on these humans. And he was like, oh, and I was like, you know, we're Polynesian too, eh, bro? And it was like, and you know, it wasn't like, it was just like a click off thing. And it was like, I just said to him, oh, it's all good, bro. Like, it's all good. Like, I'm sorry, bro. Like, fuck, that was shit. And I think he'll remember that. Yeah. He'll always remember just kind of being not put in his place, but like,
become aware of his language.
Just the way around, and especially around our team, I was like, it's predominantly a Māori team. It's like, maybe not the greatest thing to say. And then even like, you know, best mates I went to school with after this rugby game, you know, just like, so what's this? I can't call you black balls anymore? And I was like, no, you can't. And he was like, but I can't. No, there's no buts, bro.
Yeah.
Just don't fucking call me that. And he was just like, okay. Just like, you know, like just stuff like that is to make them aware, or especially around me. That's one person, you know, and you say it around, you know, the next person. Like, it's just the cut it straight away, right then and there, like, boof. Don't fucking say that shit around me. Yeah. Or like, you know, in a try to do it in a way where it's not to fuck it itty him, like, but just to be like, oh, bro, you know, don't say that stuff around me, or like to have a quiet word, you know.
Yep.
But yeah,
so that's best just to be able to nip it in the butt then and there.
Yeah.
And to at least just say something in that moment as soon as you hear it or observe it.
Yeah. I reckon it's just the or else it just sits with you for a bit.
Yeah.
And there's been times where I've missed it as well. And I'm like, oh fuck, I should have said something, but I didn't. Like, you know. That's the way I've been dealing with it lately. But yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, bro.
Awesome, brother. And thank you so much, bro, for you know, coming on, bro, sharing all of your kōrero and your stories, which are freaking powerful, bro. Could like legit go dive into heaps of these
I'll fucking talk
for time and time, bro. But if there was like one bit of I guess one last message that you'd like to share to our listeners and things like that, bro, you know, what would you like to sort of leave them with?
We are the moon. No. Oh, morphity her. Oh, morphity. I don't know, bro. It's just kia kaha, just keep going. Yeah. It's especially if you're an artist that you know, it's a hard kind of, and your bro will know this, you know, it's a hard cookie to crack sometimes to keep, you know, it keeps putting anyone in kind of a creative space, or any kind of new thing. So kia kaha, haere tonu, get knocked back, get up again,
Keep going.
and just and it just corrects it, makes itself happen somehow. And that's my words of wisdom.
Thank you, brother. Again, thank you so much, bro.
Nah, all
Beautiful.
good, brother.
And for those of you who are creatives or in a bit of a rut, I suppose, just continue to take one step at a time, day by day, and you never know when that break is going to happen or when that moment of growth is going to occur. So just hold steadfast, continue to believe, and continue to create. And again, thanks heaps to Be Humble for this beautiful product that is just making the skin glow.
It's we have it in our gallery.
Oh, you have it in your gallery
Oh
too?
yeah, it's fucking great.
It's so good, eh?
And the real good one is the Kawa one for like eczema or like the peppy balm.
Yeah, beautiful.
Put that on the pep. Oh, you'll get to know this soon, bro.
Yeah, bro.
Woo. Bro, and it is because our kids are like salty, like always in this like sea and that.
Yeah.
Just fucking rub that shit out, and
It does good, eh? It does
bro,
wonders.
it's best for the skin, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So big shout out to Be Humble again, and to you guys that are listening, thank you for tuning in, and catch you in the next one.
Sure.
Mauriora.
Mauriora.